Hi, I'm Eric Choka, and we're at Bonobo's Restaurant here in New York City. And I'm here with Donna Peroni from Accent on Wellness. And we're here part of a great lecture series she has with incredible speakers like Fred Deasy, Doug Graham, Rio, and a lot of them are amazing authors too. So Donna, how are you doing?
I'm doing great tonight. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm really excited too. Tell me, who do we have tonight?
We have Victoria Moran. She's an author. She's written about 10 books, and her latest book is called Younger by the Day. She writes books that are about personal growth and wellness.
So it sounds like we're in for a really good evening tonight.
Yes, and we've had a lot of speakers over the years, and I consider her an A+ on public speaking. So it's always a treasure to have her here.
All right, so don't go anywhere. We're in for a great show tonight here on HealthVOX.
If you sit for an extended period, 20 minutes is recommended, 10 will do if that's all you've got, and come out of your meditation. Let's just fast forward and pretend it's been 20 minutes. Inhale, and on that final exhalation, all is well. Slowly open your eyes and sit for a minute. You don't want to jump right out of meditation any more than you want to jump right out of bed. You want to ease into the various aspects of life. We know that with eating, you don't want to just drive your car through a drive-through, grab something that looks like food, and shove it into your mouth. It doesn't work. You want to have some time to ease into these various activities of life. So sit for a minute after your meditation, and then have a little time to be grateful. You might want to write in a journal. You might want to pray if you're a praying person. Whatever it is for you that gets your day going in a calm, perfect way. I think of this as a time when you compose your day. Otherwise, you take potluck. You get whatever life throws at you. But if you've had this time to be calm in the morning, you go out into the day and you're in charge instead of just whatever might happen to come up. Whatever you're eating, whether you're all raw, mostly raw, or on some other kind of path, you want your food to be beautiful. So obviously, if you're raw or mostly so, your food is going to be a lot more beautiful than a lot of people's food, just because it is. Because fresh fruits and vegetables are colorful and wonderful. You want to feed yourself through your eyes. You want food that smells good. And you want food that you just kind of have a little hankering for. I think that so often, whenever we want to be healthier and we want to eat healthier food, we deny ourselves sometimes what we really want. This is not a good idea, because what you really want is going to come after you. And if you don't get a little bit of maybe not the exact thing you want, but something pretty darn close when you want it, that desire is going to keep coming. So a lot of people that get interested in their health get really self-righteous about, well, you don't want to make that raw carob whatever it is. That's very rich, and it's very sweet, and it's very fatty. Well, maybe if you don't have the raw carob, sweet, fatty, whatever it is, you may end up standing at a convenience store late at night buying everything that they have in front of the counter. So you want to treat yourself really well, and you want to give yourself quality food. and you want it to look nice. Now, I know everybody is in a hurry, but you need to be able to slow down at least to eat your food. You need to be able to chew. You want to have your food pretty much liquid before you eat it. You want to be able to sit and breathe for a minute before you eat. This whole notion of table grace is such a fascinating idea. What does it do? Well, we know it gives you a minute to catch your breath, think, breathe a moment, be grateful, and this tells the body that food is coming. This gives your physiology the opportunity to know that it's time to be nourished. They did a study at the Menninger Clinic in Topeka, Kansas some years ago where they laid out a big table like this one with all different kinds of food, and they had various people bless the food. And these were just people from Topeka. They weren't clergy, they were just people, and they would say their little grace, bless this food, blah, 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 and they left. Then the researchers brought in a group of yogis from India. This was part of a large research project to see if indeed these yogis had powers that the rest of us don't. Interestingly enough, the yogis were able to point to the foods on the table and say, blessed, not blessed, 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 not blessed, with 100% accuracy. Well, this makes me think that not only did the yogis have some interesting powers, so did the people from Topeka. Amazing to me. I don't know what it means. I don't understand it. I just know that just as I would rather eat organic food than what a lot of people consider regular food, I would rather eat blessed food than what we might consider regular food. So when it comes time to eat, make it a celebration. Even if it's just a little smoothie from the blender, you want to put that smoothie in a stemmed goblet and not something plastic that you picked up at some gas station on the internet, on the interstate. You want to have wonderful food served in beautiful ways. You want to eat the rainbow. If you look at your plate and it isn't colorful, if it doesn't make you feel alive, it's not going to make you younger. The idea of youth is vitality and movement and action. And that's what you get from a plate that's green and purple and red and white. Now, as we go through our healthy day, probably even before you started eating, you'll want to get some exercise. Exercise, if you could only do one thing to get healthier. And I sometimes ask myself these hypothetical questions, well, if you could only do one thing. Well, the truth is you can't only do one thing. And you want to do lots of things. I'm sure all of you who are interested in health have known people who've only done one thing. But if you could only do one thing, I think exercise would have to be it. Exercise is the panacea. It's the closest thing to the fountain of youth that we've got. Now, I'd like to share with you tonight about 3 kinds of exercise that are broad spectrum exercises. I'm going to call the first one Western, and the second one Eastern, and the third one incidental. Now, Western exercise is what most of us think of as exercise, and those would be aerobic exercise for your cardiovascular system, weight training, and flexibility. Those are the 3 parts of Western exercise. I'm going to very quickly go over cardiovascular exercise and why we need it. As you know, what strengthens your heart are those slow burn kinds of activities. Walking, the treadmill, the bicycle, the stair climber, the things that you can keep up for 20 or 30 minutes. Now, when Kenneth Cooper from Dallas, Texas, first coined the word aerobics back in the 1970s, they were saying that 20 minutes 3 times a week would do it for your heart. Well, now they're saying 30 minutes 6 days a week. That's a lot of exercise in a country where 15% of the people are the only ones who exercise regularly. But that's the ideal. I think if you're even doing the 3 that they used to say was the ideal, you're sure better than most people. But if you can get out there and at least do some walking that gets your breathing up, gives you a little bit of perspiration every day, this is a great thing. This is what you need to be doing. I love comparative anatomy. I think a lot of vegetarians study a little bit of comparative anatomy when we first see if we think we will survive without meat. And when I look at every creature on this earth, every mammal, most of the reptiles, even bugs, all have means of locomotion. And fish have the tail for swimming. So it's almost as if the main thing that separates us from plants is that we can move around. But we are the least mobile human beings that have ever existed, anytime, any place in history. And interestingly enough, the diseases that affect our civilization now were the same diseases that only the kings and the noblemen used to get, because they were the only ones who had enough people waiting on them that they didn't move. So we need to be moving. Now weights. Why is weight training, weightlifting, why does that make us grow younger? Well, actually, in terms of just growing younger, it may be the most important kind of exercise of all. Now, of course, the cardio exercise keeps you alive, so I guess that's really important. But in terms of just growing younger, whenever you lift weights, whenever you do resistance exercise, you're not only building muscle strength, you're building bone strength. And so many women are prone to osteoporosis, the thinning of the bones, and you see older women hunched over, bent over. A broken hip puts more elderly people in nursing homes than any other cause, and broken hips are a direct result of osteoporosis. But there's so much beyond just strong bones and muscles that happens when you do weight training. One thing is that because it gives you more muscle mass, less fat, you're burning more calories even when you're sleeping, even when you're sitting at work or on the computer or watching television. Also, we love things that happen quickly. We're a quick culture. Weight training shows almost immediately. You can go from being a couch potato, start doing weight training, and in 2 weeks' time, you will start seeing some ripple in your muscle. You'll start to see something different in your body. It is so worth doing. Another thing that happens when you start lifting weights is that your balance improves. Now, most of us never think about balance. I never think about falling, maybe if there's ice on the road. But for people over 70, the fear of falling is one of their greatest fears. And the kinds of muscle fibers that you work when you do resistance exercise are those same fibers that can catch you when you start to fall. So this is really health insurance. 3 times a week is recommended for weight training. You can do upper and lower body the same day, 3 times a week, or if you want to do it in tandem with your cardio, you can do upper body one day and then lower body. You don't want to do them consecutively, one day after another, because you need some time for those muscle fibers to repair. Then there's flexibility. Flexibility is what makes people feel young. I remember as a little girl hearing older people say, "Oh, I'm just so stiff. I just felt so stiff when I got up this morning." Or even, "I can't sit on the floor. I'm too stiff." And I decided then that I would sit on the floor every day of my life because I never wanted to get to the point where I couldn't do it. So flexibility is what gives you that wonderful willow-like quality of being able to bend and stretch and flex so that you don't break under stress. So that's the other part of Western exercise. But I said we were also going to talk about Eastern exercise and incidental exercise. Eastern exercise has to do with the subtle life energies of the body. In yoga, it's called prana. In martial arts, it's called qi. It's the idea that even if you have a good heart, and you're strong, and you're flexible, you still need to be open to the energies of the universe to be truly healthy and to stay forever young. So yoga will make you stronger. Certain kinds of yoga will also help your cardiovascular system. It will certainly help your flexibility. But in addition, there's this other element of working with the breath to get more of this life energy into your whole body-mind. Tai Chi is another wonderful system. I remember taking a couple of Tai Chi classes in my 20s and thinking, this is the most boring thing I've ever done. What could this possibly do for anybody? Well, what I see today it does for anybody is it gives you a way to manipulate the energies. We're swimming in a sea of energy, and we want to acquire as much of it as we can. So systems like yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong are ways to do this. You don't have to do a lot, maybe 10 minutes a day and one nice relaxing class a week. But it's a way to not only work with your body, but to work with these subtle elements to make you really, really alive. Now, incidental exercise is what happens if you live in New York City, and it's pretty hard to get in lots of other parts of the world. I just came back from Florida, and there weren't sidewalks where I lived. It was so difficult to make people get out and walk at all because pulling a car out of a garage was so much easier. Incidental exercise means that when somebody says, meet me at 23rd and Madison, you leave early enough that you can walk. It's when somebody says, I'm on the 3rd floor, it's an elevator building, you find the stairs, even though you see the elevator first. It's the idea of being self-supporting with your physiology, that you want to move. You want to take the opportunities to move. And when you move your body, you're more likely to keep moving your mind, keep your brain going, and keep everything working the way it's supposed to. So as you go through this wonderful day, this idyllic day, you're exercising, you're eating beautiful, healthy food, you want to take a little more time in the afternoon for a second meditation. That seems like a lot, but the studies that have talked about lessening blood pressure, lowering cholesterol, less infections, fewer days off work, and meditators have all been people who meditate in the morning and in the late afternoon. How can we possibly do that? Here are some ways. Some people just stay at work. A few minutes later, they close the door, they meditate there. Other people find a quiet spot in a park, maybe in a church that has an open door, so on the way home from work, they can get that second meditation time. Other people form a habit. They come home, they walk in before they do anything else. Before checking the phone messages, opening the mail, that's the time. You light a little candle, you sit, and have that second meditation. Now, lots of times, people who want to defy natural law and stay up too late will say, oh, I got second wind. Well, you can get second wind late at night because of those same energies that I was talking about earlier. If you don't go to bed when the sleep energies are around, the wakeful energies will cycle back in and you will get second wind, but you won't get enough sleep and you won't get a high quality sleep. But one way you can get second wind later in the day is to have that second meditation. You want to do it between 3 in the afternoon and 6 in the evening, so that you're finished in time to have your dinner. Now, a lot of people who eat very lightly are able to graze through the day and seem to do fine with that. But most of us who really like meals, who like to come to a lovely place like this and sit down and have a meal that really stays with you, it's a good idea to not eat between meals. This is because every physiological process requires some time to be completed. So there's a time to take in the food, and then there's a time to wait and let it be assimilated. So especially for your evening meal, You don't want to eat really late at night. You want there to be at least 2.5, 3 hours in between finishing your evening meal and going to bed. That way your body can work on digesting while you're still awake and assimilating and detoxing at night. You know, the body does a lot of work that we don't know about, so we want to help it. So when it is time to go to bed, you want to go to bed in a wonderful frame of mind. You want to get used to never going to sleep on a grump or a grudge. And if you're married to one, you need to deal with that. You want to make sure that you've cleaned up the day that's just passed and don't take it to bed with you. A lot of people like to do a little bit of journaling at night. If there's a problem, if you go back over your day, even just without the journal, even just in your mind as you're lying there in bed, you can start from the time that it is now and go backwards through the day. How was today? That was pretty good. I sure had a good dinner. Yeah, I got my exercise in. Oh, there was that little incident at work where I was kind of rude. No, I wasn't kind of rude. I was really rude. Make a note. Do something about that tomorrow. And then you can go to sleep and sleep like a baby. If you do have some sleep troubles, a couple of things that you can do that might help a little bit are just what your mom told you. The hot bath, but maybe she didn't tell you to put a few drops of essential lavender oil in the water. You want to put the lavender oil in a carrier oil, in a bland oil like almond, and swish it through the bath. Don't have a really hot bath. You know, we don't like to cook our food over 118 degrees, so let's not boil our bodies as if we were still eating lobster, but we were the lobster. Everything in that wonderful moderation space. You want it to be nice and warm so you're relaxed, but not too hot. You can also, if you do drink any warm teas, there are some wonderful herbal teas like chamomile that are soothing. So whatever it takes for you to be able to put the day aside and go to sleep and rest and wake up younger the next day. Now I just want in closing to talk a little bit about liveliness. We're so interested in keeping our bodies young and healthy and full of energy and fully alive that you can't be fully alive if your mind and soul are thinking, oh my God, is everything going to hell in a handbasket? Look at the headlines, look at what's on television, look what's going on in the world. Well, you don't want to look too closely because you really could get into that frame of mind. Of course, we need to be informed, but you don't want to be so informed that you can't see the bigger picture. You don't want to take the problems of the world to bed with you. You don't want to carry them around with you like extra weight, like an extra burden. What you want to do is be effective. So whether the problem that you see is in your immediate world or in the larger world, what can you do to do something about it? This is the wonderful thing about growing older. It gives you perspective, and it gives you a whole period of life after your children are grown and some of those responsibilities are behind you to do something about the bigger picture. We're so lucky, those of us who get to live our full lifespan. I want to excite you about what already excites you. Now, I don't know what that is for you individually. I may know what it is for Karen because I know her a little bit. I know her children excite her. Homeschooling excites her. I know Donna is excited by raw foods and natural healing, sponsoring this group. I know there are some people here who are excited about television and videos. Whatever it is that excites you, you need it. Now think about a gray day or a beige day. Remember we talked about the beige foods. You don't want beige days. When I go to the gym and I'm on the stair climber or the treadmill, I'm always playing Broadway musical songs into my ears. Somebody did a study that said that if you exercise to music, it doesn't just improve your body, it improves your memory, which is certainly one of the signs of growing younger. Now, the last thing I'd like to share with you before we close is the idea of what you give. We're talking about what we get from life. What are we going to give? I'm here to tell you that there is something that you can do that nobody else who has ever lived on this planet before can do. It's your obligation and it's your responsibility. And the reason that you're given the length of life that you're given is so that you can do that. Now, what's really interesting is what you can give and what you want to get are often related. If I were to say to you now, what do you want more than anything in the world? You might have to think for a minute, because lots of times what we want more than anything, we say, oh, that's too much. That's too big. Well, I couldn't want that because I'm just a kid from Kansas City. No. That's what was implanted in you to do when you came here. So what you want the most is what you need to go for. And what you want the most will enable you to give the most as well. This is a fascinating adventure. You're eating all these fruits and vegetables to give you the liveliness and the vitality, not just so you can say, I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, I'm pretty lively, I'm pretty vital. No, it's so you can get down and dirty with life, so that you can get here and do what you came here for.
I just want to thank Victoria Moran for her wonderful talk tonight, and this is Donna Peroni of Accent on Wellness and of HealthVOX. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, or at least find out more about Accent on Wellness, you could call our hotline at 212-760-5953. Thanks again. See you soon. Okay.